So in today's video, we're going to talk about intermittent fasting troubleshooting and just common issues that can come across when you're fasting. So hunger and cravings can often be an issue for some people. So number one recommendation is to drink lots of water. I personally find this extremely helpful. Quite often, if I feel a little bit of hunger, just by having a few big sips of water, it can actually just put something in your belly, and it's amazing. The hunger feelings go away, and it's a great way of encouraging extra water intake in that fasting window. I really try and drink most of my water for the day in my fasting window. Staying occupied is another huge one. If you don't have much to do and you get bored, you're going to be thinking about food. So if you're working, like quite often I'll be taking kids on the weekends, taking kids to sports and things like that, and we've got to get out the door pretty early. So it's just easier to fast, and then I don't have food there, so I'm not tempted. So staying occupied, having things to do can be a good way of avoiding those thoughts and avoiding tempting situations is key. If you're going out with your family to a breakfast and they're all sitting there eating breakfast and you're trying to fast, it's going to be pretty tough. So try and avoid situations where maybe you're going to the supermarket to do shopping when you're really hungry and fasting, or you're going to the servo to fill up and you're seeing food there. So avoid situations that are going to make it hard for you. We want to try and make it easy. When you're traveling, another area that people can get undone is that they're out of their normal routine. I always find that if you're going on a holiday and you're taking a plane and things like that, fasting, especially if you've got like an early flight, fasting can be a great option to avoid unhealthy plane food. I generally don't eat plain food, so just fasting can be a good way of just bypassing that. Water. So again, water is the key. Drink lots of water, especially if you're having like a really early night early morning that you have to get up, or you're staying late and your sleep rhythm's out. Often you can feel quite dehydrated as well as from the plane. So water is really important to have extra water. And if you're fasting and you're traveling, be prepared for breaking the fast. So think about what you're going to actually eat when you do break that fast. If you're in a foreign environment and you haven't given any thought to it, you're going to be probably quite hungry by the end of your fast, and you may go for options that are not fantastic. So have a little bit of pre-thought. You might prepare something that you take with you, some nuts or whatever it is, or you might, we often, map out when we're going to a different area where there's healthy food places that we can get items from. Even if it's a supermarket, you can get a few healthier things from there. And just be aware of the implications of poor sleep. So we talked about in one of the early episodes that when you don't have good sleep quality, it can affect your blood sugars, it affects your hormones, so it can make fasting a lot more challenging. And perhaps it's not, if that's the case, it might not be the best time to fast for you. We want to be flexible with our fasting. And when we're talking about social situations, that's another area that people can get undone. Flexible fasting is the key when it comes to fasting just in general. So being flexible, so it means that, maybe, all right, I've got a social occasion and normally I would have been fasting at that time. Maybe I don't fast today just for this social occasion. Or maybe it's a time that I normally wouldn't have fasted and I'll say, oh, there's not going to be good food there, so I'm just going to fast. That's just easier. So be flexible with it. Sometimes fasting afterwards can be a good option. Fasting before, probably not as good of an option, just because of the fact that if you've had a long fast and then you're in a social situation that doesn't have good healthy options, you may be tempted to overeat, and you may be tempted to have worse foods than what you normally would. Whereas I find that if you fast afterwards, especially if it's a social occasion where you've eaten a bit too much, just giving your digestive system a rest and fasting after that can be a good way to go. You might even like to try and plan the social events not around food. So if you're able to have control of that, and that way you don't have to, you make the social situations maybe it's going for a walk together with friends or something like that. We're not gonna be tempted by food. Maybe just going out for drinks with friends, and you can have water or soda water. Maybe a slice of lime or something in the soda water. That's going to be fine in terms of fasting effect. And to be honest, most people, they probably won't even realize if they see a drink in your hand, they probably won't even question it. And finally, some of the negative fasting side effects can be if you're not fat adapted. So if you're starting out and you're not fat adapted, as we've spoken about in early episodes, you might just want to start slower. So don't think that you have to do this. Everyone talks about this 16-8, where you're fasting for 16 hours. You don't have to do that. You might start with a 12-hour fast and then slowly increase it to 13, 14. Maybe that's just where you get to. It's individualized. So, as you become more fat adapted and your body can easily switch from carbs to your fat stores and burn them as energy, you won't need to eat as frequently, and you'll be able to fast longer, more comfortably. But in those initial phases, if you're very used to eating carbs all the time, you might just want to slowly, introduce those fasting windows and challenge your body, in a slow, incremental fashion. And listen to your body. Do what's right for you, not what's right for anyone else. It's great to hear other people's stories and how things have gone for them, but you've got to listen to your own body. And especially when it comes to the fasting and eating window length. And just remember, number one rule is, if you feel unwell for any reason whatsoever, if you feel lightheaded, dizzy, just any symptoms of low blood sugar, just have something to eat. It's as simple as that, and then you'll quickly get the blood sugars back up, and those symptoms will normally abate.